It was 6:42 a.m. when I knew. Not when I suspected, knew. There's a difference. The same difference between spotting a dark cloud and feeling the first drop hit your neck. You don't guess anymore. You just grab the umbrella. Or in my case, the receipts. The moment of clarity came while I was shaving. Half a cheek done, razor midair, and then boom. My wife's voice echoed from the night before. I'll be working late. New client kickoff. Sure, that explained the perfume. Not the one I bought her for Christmas, the one she claimed gave her headaches. This one was floral, aggressive, and expensive. I didn't recognize the scent, but it smelled exactly like guilt. I finished shaving without nicking myself. That's the kind of man I am. The kind who handles betrayal with a steady hand and a clean jawline. My name's Daniel Reed. Civil engineer. 38. No criminal record. 2 years of jiu-jitsu under my belt. But I wasn't the flip tables and punch drywall type. I planned cities for a living, quietly, structurally, and with long-term consequences. So when my wife of 7 years, Camille, started acting strange, fewer kisses, more locked phone screens, and a sudden enthusiasm for Pilates taught by a man named Rafa, I didn't confront her. I studied her. Let her play chess. I preferred poker. The first confirmation came from the gym. Hi. I'm here to sign my wife up for a couples package, I told the young woman at the front desk, flashing my best, oblivious husband smile. She typed Camille's name into the system and frowned. Actually, she already has a couples package. Says here, signed up with a Colton R. last month. I nodded like that made perfect sense. Colton R. Of course. Nothing screams monogamy like a man with a Colton energy. I thanked the receptionist, bought a protein bar I didn't want, and left with more than I came in with. Camille wasn't always like this. She used to laugh with her whole body, bake banana bread at 10 p.m., and fall asleep on my chest halfway through movies. For years, we were each other's emergency contact, travel buddy, therapist, and trivia night partner. But things changed. Not overnight. Not loudly. Just changed. Her laughter got quieter. She started wearing lipstick to the grocery store. She stopped asking how my day went and started talking about a coworker named Brian with a nice watch, a little too often. Spoiler, it was not his watch she was admiring. And I kept pretending not to notice. Until I couldn't. The second clue arrived by accident. Our smart speaker. God bless Bluetooth. I came home early from work one Tuesday to find music playing. Not her usual upbeat Taylor Swift chaos, but a playlist called Body Heat. Fire. Now, I may not be a DJ, but I am a man who never once created a playlist with an emoji in the title. It was paired to a phone named Colt XR8. Colton, with an X. Creative. I calmly unplugged the speaker, walked into the bedroom, and found Camille in the closet, applying mascara. Her eyes flicked to the clock when she saw me. You're home early, she said, her voice flat as foundation. Client canceled. I lied smoothly. Big meeting tomorrow, though. Should I wear navy or charcoal? She barely looked. Navy. Charcoal makes you look tired. There it was. The shift. The emotional unpairing. I was still playing husband, but she'd already rewritten the script. What she didn't know? I'd memorized the whole show, and I'd started writing a new final act. So here's where it starts to get interesting. Camille made a fatal mistake, one that most cheaters make when they start to believe their own fiction. She got comfortable. Started thinking she was directing the movie, not realizing I'd already written the ending. And buddy, I was holding the director's cut. Her phone buzzed one night while she was in the shower. Normally, I don't check her phone. Not because I'm moral high ground guy, but because I didn't have to. I'm a pattern guy. But this time, lock screen lit up with a preview. Colton woozy face. Still thinking about that elevator ride. Now, I don't know what ride they were talking about, but it sure wasn't the kind with a security camera and elevator music. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Instead, I sent a text from my phone. Dinner Friday. Steakhouse. My treat. To her. To Camille. No explanation. No emoji. Just a reservation I made at her favorite spot, where she used to love dragging me to celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, or any Tuesday she needed a reason to wear heels and take pictures of her food. She replied within seconds. What's the occasion? I replied. You'll see. Friday night. 7:15 p.m. She showed up in her signature red dress, the one she wore when she wanted to be unforgettable. Lipstick matching. Earrings I bought her on our second anniversary. Hair curled just enough to look effortless. You look nice, she said, eyeing me across the table like she was trying to guess my mood. Thanks, I said. You wore that same dress the night we went to Montreal, remember? She smiled, nostalgic. Of course I do. You told me I was your favorite person to share a bed and dessert with. That wiped the smile clean off her face. We ordered. She picked at her food. I watched her more than I ate. Halfway through the steak, I leaned back and pulled out a small velvet box. She stared. Daniel, she whispered, eyes wide. What's this? I slid it across the table. She opened it. Not a ring. Not earrings. An air tag. Her face went pale. You put a tracker on me? She hissed. No, I said calmly. I put a tracker on my gym bag. The one you borrowed last week for your Pilates class. Funny thing, that gym bag ended up at the Royce Hotel. 3 times. Her jaw tightened. I leaned forward. You didn't cheat on me, Camille. You insulted me. She tried to speak. I held up a finger. That same calm, precise tone I use when I fire incompetent subcontractors on site. See, if you just wanted out, I would have respected that. Divorce isn't failure. But what you did, that was cowardice. You didn't want to leave the marriage. You wanted an affair and a backup plan. The waiter approached awkwardly with dessert menus. I waved him off. Camille's face was frozen somewhere between shock and damage control. Daniel, I can explain. No need, I said, standing. I placed a small envelope on the table next to the air tag. What's this? A copy of the hotel receipt. A printed message from your little boyfriend. Oh, and the name of my lawyer. Then I looked her dead in the eye. Oh, and Camille, your gym membership auto-renews next week. Might want to cancel it. I walked out without dessert. I'm not petty. I'm methodical. But I was just getting started. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry. That part had burned off weeks ago. No, this wasn't rage. This was strategy. See, Camille thought I'd just pack my suitcase, mope to a friend's couch, and spiral into divorce limbo while she played house with the protein shake prince. What she forgot was, I don't spiral. I draft blueprints. And when you wrong an engineer, he doesn't blow up the building. He reroutes the pipes, seals the exits, and lets you drown in your own plumbing. Welcome to Operation Avalanche. Slow, silent, unstoppable. Step 1. Get quiet. Camille expected a war. She got silence. She started texting more. Can we talk? Let's not rush anything. I'm confused. I replied once. Understood. Just give me space. That right there? That's emotional kryptonite to people like her. Because for once, she wasn't the one withholding love. I was. Step 2. Take inventory. While she was out at yoga or networking events, I was quietly backing up financial records, emails, passwords. I made copies of everything she didn't want to think I still cared about. I moved half our joint savings into a solo account. Legally, of course. She never noticed. She thought I was still licking my wounds. I wasn't. I was building leverage. Step 3. Hit record. Now, I'm no spy. I don't wear wiretaps or sneak in events. But let's just say the old iPhone in the study that I told her I was trading in, it wasn't traded in. It was charging and recording. One night, I left it on the bookshelf during one of her late-night marketing calls with her laptop open, glass of wine in hand. I left the house and sat in the car with the new phone. She didn't even close the door. Colton, I told you, he's totally checked out. He's not even fighting for it anymore. It's almost sad. Sad. Not tragic. Not painful. Sad. Like a dropped sandwich or a rerun of a bad sitcom. Then, the laugh. That same one I used to live for. Now it just sounded like a dying battery. Step 4. Detonate the illusion. Camille was throwing a little garden party 2 weeks later. Something low-key. Friends, wine, lanterns, fake smiles. She called it a healing moment. I RSVP'd, of course. I arrived 20 minutes late. Just enough to make a small scene. She greeted me like I was a miracle. Public display mode on. You came, she said, cheeks flushed with Chardonnay and guilt. Wouldn't miss it, I replied. Got a little something for the guests, actually. She blinked. What do you mean? I turned to the crowd, mostly her people. Friends from her Pilates class, work acquaintances, people who called me Dan, even though I never once introduced myself that way. Hey everyone, I said casually, raising a glass. Camille and I have had a rough few months, as some of you know. But I just wanted to share something meaningful from that journey. I pulled out a small Bluetooth speaker. Synced my phone. Hit play. Her voice filled the air. He's not even fighting for it anymore. It's almost sad. Dead silence. Then came his voice. You sure he's not recording any of this? Camille, please. He's still figuring out how to unsync his Apple Watch. Someone in the back gasped. Camille dropped her wine. I let the audio play exactly 12 more seconds before I turned it off and smiled. Anyway, just wanted to share something that meant a lot to me. Enjoy the night. Then I handed her the divorce papers, right there on her garden table, between the cheese board and the succulents. No yelling. No fireworks. Just impact. A funny thing happens when someone like Camille is exposed. She doesn't crumble. No, she rebrands. Public embarrassment isn't a death sentence for people like her. It's just a wardrobe change. She'll spin it into a healing journey. A misstep. A season of growth. And that's exactly what she tried. By the following Monday, she'd posted a photo on Instagram of herself journaling by a window with the caption, "Growth isn't linear. Sometimes people break you just to watch the pieces dance." Hashtag healing, hashtag own your story. Bold, considering I was the one sweeping up the glass from her garden party fallout. But Camille wasn't looking for redemption. She was looking for followers. What she didn't know was that I wasn't finished. See, revenge isn't just about fireworks. It's about blueprints. And this next part? It had been hiding in a manila envelope for 6 years. Let me backtrack. Camille's grandmother, Doris Langford, was the kind of woman who built her life on two things: land and legacy. A Depression-era fireball who believed in strong coffee, firmer boundaries, and a will that could withstand probate and apocalypse. When Doris passed, Camille cried so hard I thought she might choke. She'd inherited Doris's china, her pearls, and a portion of the family estate, not the house itself, but the proceeds from its eventual sale, held in a trust. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. "Daniel," she said, sniffing into her wine glass, "I don't even want the money. I just want to make her proud." Right. Camille didn't want the money, but she did check the trust balance quarterly like it was a stock portfolio. Roughly $280,000 earmarked for stability, family, and responsible stewardship. Her grandmother's words, not mine. The trust had conditions, and one of those conditions was simple. In the event that Camille Langford dissolves her legal marriage due to personal fault, infidelity, abandonment, criminal behavior, the funds shall revert to the surviving spouse or be donated to the Langford Foundation for Female Entrepreneurs. Camille had never read the fine print. She signed the documents in a haze of grief and brunch reservations. But I read everything. And I remembered. I paid a visit to Doris's old lawyer, a man named Howard Greeley who wore tweed in July and called everyone sport. The kind of guy who still believed in handwriting and eye contact. "Howard," I said, sliding a folder across his desk, "I need to confirm something." He adjusted his glasses, flipped through the audio transcripts, the hotel receipts, the Bluetooth logs. "You've got her cold," he muttered, almost impressed. "This is ironclad. So the trust," I asked, "reverts to you," he said. "Every penny." I nodded. Not out of joy. I wasn't celebrating. This wasn't champagne. This was accounting. The next day, I called Camille. She answered on the third ring, probably thinking I was calling to beg for closure or offer some teary compromise. "Daniel," she said, voice low. Vulnerable. Trained. "I didn't expect to hear from you so soon. Did you read Doris's will?" I asked, skipping every pretense. Silence. "The clause," I continued, "about infidelity voiding your claim?" Still nothing. I could hear her breathing, could practically see her eyes darting across her mental files. "That money was mine," she said finally, her tone tightening like a drawstring bag. "She left it to me. She left it to her granddaughter if she acted with integrity." Witched well. I let that sentence hang like smoke in the air. "You've been officially disqualified. You wouldn't dare." "Already did." Another beat. "You're unbelievable," she spat. "You're punishing me for falling out of love." I laughed quietly. "Camille, you didn't fall out of love. You fell into someone else's lap." Click. 2 weeks later, the trust transferred. I didn't touch the money right away. Just let it sit there. Untouched. A monument to foresight. Camille tried to fight it, of course. Hired a lawyer with shiny shoes and an empty briefcase. But Howard had already filed everything, and the documentation was airtight. She posted a tearful video on social media titled "Betrayed by the System," where she vaguely accused me of financial abuse. The comments were sympathetic, her fans were loyal, But it didn't change the fact that she now lived in a one-bedroom sublet and had to cancel her rebrand podcast due to lack of funding. I didn't smile. Not once. Because revenge isn't about smiling. It's about equilibrium. Weeks later, I stood on the back deck of my new place. Smaller, quieter, built into a hillside that caught the sunset just right. No decorations yet. Just a chair, a drink, and the silence of a man who finally stopped pretending. My friend Marcus came by, holding 2 beers and a manila envelope. "You sure you want to see this?" he asked, handing it over. "No," I said, "but I should." Inside were photos. Colton, shirtless, spray-tanned, wearing the kind of sunglasses that scream entrepreneur and the IQ of a houseplant. He and Camille weren't looking happy. More like bored. "Already crumbling," Marcus said, cracking open a beer. "Of course they are," I replied. "It's hard to build a future on quicksand." We sat in silence. The wind moved through the trees like applause. "What now?" he asked. I sipped slowly, watched the sun slide behind the ridge. "Now," I said. "Now I live." It had been 87 days since I'd heard Camille's voice in person. Not that I was counting, but there's a quiet kind of clock that starts ticking after betrayal, not out of longing, but out of calculation. A countdown to the moment when the universe sends the final invoice. And that moment? It came in the form of a dinner. Not a trap, not a confrontation, just dinner. It started with an email. Short, polite, almost sterile. Subject, regarding closure. From Camille Langford. "If you're open to it, I'd like to meet for dinner." No drama, no agenda, just clarity. My treat. I stared at it for a while. Not because I was tempted, but because I knew what this meant. She'd run out of audience. Colton, as expected, had faded. Rumor had it he'd moved on to an influencer/dog trainer named Livy. Meanwhile, Camille's healing brand had dried up faster than her follower count. Sponsors don't stick with scandal. Not when receipts come with timestamps and hotel logos. She wanted to reclaim the narrative. She didn't know I'd already rewritten it. I replied. Subject. Regarding closure. Thursday, 7 p.m. Giacomo's on 6th. I'll reserve a table. You're welcome to bring a guest. She replied in under 3 minutes. Thank you. I'll be alone. She wouldn't be. Thursday, 6:59 p.m. Giacomo's was one of those places with candles and wine bottles and waiters who whispered specials like they were sharing classified intel. Cozy, warm, just upscale enough for someone trying to look composed. I arrived first. Wore navy. Not to impress, but to haunt. Navy was our anniversary color. Our wedding napkins. Our bedroom walls. She walked in at 7:03. Hairstyled but not stiff. Neutral lipstick. The same purse she used to hide a burner phone in, though I doubt she realized I knew that. You look well, she said. I am well, I replied. You look rehearsed. That landed. But she smiled, or tried to. We sat. The waiter arrived. I ordered a steak. She ordered salmon. Thank you for meeting me, she began, folding her napkin like she was prepping for an emotional autopsy. I've had time to think. About everything. That's what rock bottom's good for, I said. Very meditative. She winced, but kept going. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she lied. I just want honesty. A real conversation. Closure. Okay, I said. Then I'd like to introduce someone. She blinked. Someone. I looked to the entrance. Right on cue, he walked in. Tall. Mid-20s. Hair like hers. Eyes like mine. Camille paled before he even reached the table. Camille, I said, this is Eli. My son. She stared, blinking like her brain needed a reboot. You're what? Eli offered a polite smile and sat beside me. I'm not here to start anything, he said. I just wanted to meet the woman who replaced my mom before she was even out of your life. Camille's jaw slackened. Let me explain. 20 years ago, in college, I dated a girl named Jessica Brenner. Briefly, she transferred, I moved on, life happened. But a few months ago, right in the middle of the Camille collapse, I got a knock on my door. 18 years old. His name was Eli, and he looked exactly like me. We'd done the test. Talked. Built something real. And no, I didn't need Camille to validate any of it. I just wanted her to see what loyalty looked like. What truth looked like. What legacy looked like. Not the kind you siphon from a dead grandmother's trust fund, but the kind that shows up uninvited, shakes your hand, and calls you dad. Camille recovered just enough to sputter. Why would you bring him here? Because you brought lies into my house, I said. Thought I'd return the favor with a little truth. This is sick, Daniel, she snapped. I came here for peace. You came here for control. I cut in. And when that didn't work, you came for sympathy. Eli watched her, calm as a monk. You made him the villain, he said. Publicly. Repeatedly. But you don't get to control who tells the ending. She looked like she might cry, not out of heartbreak, but from losing the script. She stood. Fast. Knocked her wine over. You've changed, she hissed at me. You used to be kind. No, I said, dabbing at the wine with my napkin. I used to be tame. She didn't reply, just grabbed her purse and stormed out, leaving her untouched salmon and a silence so satisfying I could have boxed it and sold it by the ounce. The waiter returned moments later. Will she be coming back? He asked. Unlikely, I said, smiling. But she's always welcome to try. Later that night, Eli and I sat in the parking lot, windows down, breeze cutting through the weight of everything that had just unfolded. Was that necessary? He asked. No, I said. But it was accurate. He laughed, not mockingly, just the way sons laugh when they see their father for who he really is. You're not what I expected, he said. Neither was she, I replied. We sat in silence for a while. Then Eli asked, so what's next? And I smiled. Next, I said. Next we play the long game. Because her chapter's done. But mine. I looked out across the dark road ahead. I'm just getting to the good part. If you'd asked me a year ago what I thought I'd be doing at 6:30 on a Saturday morning, I'd have said trimming hedges, sipping coffee, maybe watching Camille complain about eggs being too runny. Domestic life stuff. Background music. Instead, I was on a construction site. Steel-toed boots. Blueprints under my arm. Coffee in a thermos with my name etched into it. And my son, walking beside me, asking real questions about concrete curing and support beams. Eli wasn't just visiting anymore. He'd moved in. And not into my spare bedroom, into my life. I used the money from the trust. Not out of spite, out of irony. Camille had once said she wanted to build something with legacy. I remember her saying it while browsing tile samples on Pinterest, as if picking out backsplash was how you earned immortality. She wanted legacy, so I gave her one. I founded Langford House, a nonprofit trade school for at-risk young adults, specializing in engineering, architecture, and skilled trades. I bought an old factory lot on the east side of town, gutted it, redesigned it, and repurposed the entire building with reclaimed materials. That's what happens when an engineer gets his heart broken. He repurposes. The first time I saw the sign installed on the new building, bold letters etched into steel, I stood there longer than I should have. Langford House. Not for Camille. Not to honor her. To own the name. To take what she tried to weaponize and make it a home for people who never had one. Eli stood beside me, hands in his jacket pockets, squinting at the sign. Isn't it weird using her name? He asked. It was never just hers, I replied. And that was the truth. That name had always been tied to pain, power plays, and silent dinners. But now it was tied to scholarships. Welding classes. Clean slates. Let her watch from a distance. Let her see her last name on every grant letter and student success story. Let her wonder if it still belonged to her. Spoiler, it didn't. Then came the letter. Official, cream-colored envelope. Her handwriting on the front. I opened it slowly, not because I was nervous, but because I already knew what was inside. A cease and desist. Camille, or rather her newly hired lawyer, claimed that using the Langford name without her direct permission was a form of emotional exploitation, which, from her, was basically a comedy script. I read it over twice. Then I highlighted a section in yellow, wrote one sentence in the margin, and mailed it back. I own the trademark now. Should have read the fine print before signing it over with the house. Never heard back. The truth is, Camille had built her world on glitter and followers, and when it cracked, she looked around for someone else to blame. But I wasn't there anymore. Not on the couch. Not in the photo frames. Not in the fight. She'd played checkers in a chess game. And now the board was mine. Langford House took off faster than expected. Eli and I ran classes together. Me on structure and project design. Him on software, CAD, and the kind of creative thinking I used to dismiss when I was his age. We argued over HVAC configurations like two old married contractors, but he had the spark. He saw things I missed. We made a good team. And the students? They came from broken homes, burned bridges, juvenile records, and nowhere towns. The first time one of them called me Mr. Reed, I waved it off. Just Daniel, I said. I'm not your principal. I'm just the guy showing you the ropes. But it stuck. Mr. Reed. The name had weight now. One student, Malik, 19, had this quiet way of looking at the world like it owed him nothing. He was the kind of kid you'd pass on the street and never notice, unless you knew how to spot bruised brilliance. One day, while helping install a new ceiling grid, he asked, "Why'd you start this place anyway?" I paused, considered giving him the clean answer, the brochure answer. But Malik wasn't a brochure kid. Because someone once convinced me I was only worth what I could provide, I said. And I believed them, until I realized I could build something that didn't depend on anyone else's approval. He didn't say anything, just nodded once. That was enough. Later that week, I got a message from an old friend of Camille's, someone I barely knew. She'd left me a voicemail. I just wanted to say, I saw what you're doing with Langford House. I don't know what she told people, but I'm sorry for ever taking her side. You were always the real thing. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. Sometimes the best apology is watching someone finally see clearly. On the 6-month anniversary of the foundation's launch, we held a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Nothing flashy. No media circus. Just students, staff, donors, and the people who believed in the mission. Eli gave a speech. Spoke about legacy, second chances, the unexpected power of blueprints and bloodlines. I stood in the back, arms crossed, letting the next generation take the mic. When it was over, he walked off stage, grinning. So, he asked. You crushed it, I said. Maybe you should have gone into politics. He laughed. Let's not get carried away. I've seen what happens when narcissists get a platform. Present company included? I asked, smirking. He shrugged. Hey, at least you built something. We drove home in silence. The good kind. The kind where the car is quiet but the air's full. And I thought to myself, this is the real revenge. Not the emails. Not the public fallout. Not the cease and desist drama. This, right here. A life rebuilt. A son at my side. And a building that stands tall every time someone tries to reduce me to a past I no longer live in. Camille tried to tear something down, but I built a foundation. And it's never been stronger that I didn't plan to attend my high school reunion. The idea of standing around with semi-strangers drinking overpriced wine and comparing waistlines had zero appeal. But then I got the invitation and noticed the location. The Langford Arts Center. That was new. Named, of course, after Camille's cousin, a successful actress with a charity addiction. I knew Camille would be there, which is why I RSVP'd yes. Not out of spite. Curiosity. Eli came with me. We walked in like we owned the floor, him in a slim-cut jacket, me in the kind of tailored confidence that only comes from losing everything and building it back without permission. Camille saw us within 5 minutes. She froze mid-laugh, like her programming glitched. Daniel, she said, approaching like we hadn't spent a year in legal warfare. Wow, you look great. Clean living, I replied. And this must be, she looked at Eli. The best part of my legacy, I said. We made small talk, the brittle, desperate kind people use to wallpaper over the mess behind their eyes. She tried to tell me she was working with a startup now. Something vague, something polished. That's good, I said. I always hoped you'd find a way to spin straw into branding. She laughed a second too late. Then, her tone changed. Actually, I wanted to talk to you. Alone. I glanced at Eli. He gave me a nod and melted into the crowd. We stepped out into the courtyard. Moonlight. Fake ivy. Overpriced sculpture. Daniel, she said. I know we've said a lot without saying everything. But I've been thinking about things. About you. You usually do. I was selfish, she said. I see that now. But we were good together, once. No, I said calmly. I was good. You were rehearsing. She blinked. The hit landed. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm sorry. And I miss you. There it was. The reveal. The not-so-secret desire behind the wine and eye contact. You don't miss me, Camille, I said. You miss having someone to disappoint. I left her standing in that moonlit courtyard, perfectly lit for the Instagram story she'd never post. 2 months passed. I hadn't heard from Camille since. Until one day, a letter arrived. Handwritten. Not her usual theatrics. Daniel, I wouldn't reach out unless it was serious. I need your help. It's not about me. It's about my sister's daughter. Madison. She's 17. Smart. Lost. No one else will take her in. She needs structure. She needs guidance. She needs you. I read it 3 times. Madison. I remembered her. Wide eyes. Sharp tongue. I hadn't seen her in years. I folded the letter and tossed it in a drawer. 3 days later, she showed up at Langford House. Bag in hand. Hoodie. Lip piercing. Eyes that screamed, "Don't try to save me." "You're Daniel?" she asked. "That's me." "Cool. So what's the catch?" "We don't do catches here," I said. "Just second chances." She squinted. "You don't even know me. I didn't know my son either once. Now we run this place together." She smirked. "You're weird." "So's greatness," I said. I let her stay. Madison didn't open up right away. She skipped class, gave teachers attitude, left headphones in during safety meetings. But she never left. One night, I found her sitting in the workshop alone, staring at a steel beam she'd half-welded. "You don't have to fix everything in one night," I said. "I'm not fixing it," she muttered. "I'm making it mine." There was something in her eyes I recognized. Not pain, exactly. Abandonment with armor. "You think your aunt sent you here because she cares?" she asked. "I think she sent you here because she ran out of mirrors," I said. She paused, looked down, said nothing. But after that, she started showing up. First to class, then to cleanups, then to volunteer shifts. She even smiled. Twice. That's when I realized this wasn't about Camille. This was about undoing her. IT happened on a Tuesday. Langford House was hosting a press event. New sponsors. New program. Big crowd. Eli was giving a speech. Madison was working the event staff. I was shaking hands and playing nice. And in the crowd, Camille. Alone. No entourage. No camera. Just her. She didn't approach. Just watched. Like a tourist revisiting the ruins of a life she used to live in. After the event, she caught me by the door. "This is amazing," she said. "I mean it." "Thank you." She hesitated. "I don't expect anything," she said quietly. "I just wanted to see what you built." "I didn't build it out of spite," I replied. "But I won't lie. You were the blueprint." She smiled. Not fake. Not sad. Just real. "I guess I thought the worst thing I did was cheat," she said. "It wasn't." "No. No," I said. "The worst thing you did was underestimate me." She nodded. And then she walked away. Not like a villain escaping, but like a character realizing the story moved on without them. Later that night, Eli handed me a framed blueprint. The original sketch of Langford House. "Thought you should have this," he said. "The first piece of the life you rebuilt." I hung it on the wall of my office. And beneath it, a plaque. "Built from broken. Raised by fire. Owned by no one."